Before I call the meeting to order, I'll note for the record that I will serve as acting chair of today's meeting. I now call to order the meeting of the directors of the New York State Urban Development Corporation doing business as Empire State Development for Thursday, June 28th, 2018. As noted on the agenda posted to the internet, we welcome public comment on the items on our agenda to ensure maximum opportunity for participation. Speakers representing themselves may speak for up to 2 minutes each, and those representing groups may speak for up to 4 minutes each. At this time, I'll ask the directors whether anyone has any potential conflict of interest with respect to any of the items on the agenda. Please note your recusal from the, I have to note my recusal from the J.W. Danforth item. As always, the directors have received the written materials in advance of today's meeting, and you are free to ask questions at any time. First item on our agenda is approval of the minutes. Are there any questions, comments, additions, or deletions with respect to the minutes? Do you want to say something?
Yes, I do. I'm sorry. Apparently something's wrong with this House speakers, so you can either turn it off. They're getting it on the webcast. They're able to get it.
The House speakers?
Yes, which are the room speakers.
So,
Yeah.
so I don't need to use this, is
Yeah,
what you're saying?
It's going to
It's
sound
like-
like that through the whole meeting.
Does this sound bad? An item relating to our annual financial report. Kathleen?
Thank you and good morning. The Public Authorities Law requires annual approval by the corporation's Board of Directors and certification by the Chief Executive Officer and the Chief Financial Officer of certain financial reports. The reports consist of financial information set forth in the consolidated financial statements and independent auditor's report as prepared by the corporation's independent audit firm, EFPR Group LLP. The audit report for the fiscal year ended March 31, 2018, contains an unmodified, clean opinion reflecting that the consolidated financial statements present fairly, in all material respects, the financial position, results of operations, and cash flows of the corporation and its subsidiaries. In addition, the independent auditor's report on internal control over financial reporting and on compliance, addressing whether control deficiencies or material weaknesses in internal control exist, did not identify any deficiencies that would be considered to be material weaknesses. The audit firm was able to obtain reasonable assurance that the corporation's financial statements are free of material misstatement by performing tests of compliance with certain provisions of laws, regulations, contracts, and grant agreements, including the corporation's investment guidelines and other matters. Non-compliance with any of these could have had a direct and material effect on the financial statements. Their testing revealed no instances of non-compliance or other matters that are required to be reported. Included in the materials presented is the complete audit report for the fiscal year ended March 31st, 2018. The preparation of the audit report included approximately 32.5% participation by MWBE and WBE firms. The audit committee of the corporation has reviewed the audit report and approves it for presentation to the full board. Representatives from our audit firm are present, and we are happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Great. Any questions regarding the audit report from the director? Is there a motion to approve?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. Thank you, Kathleen. I just want to note in our meeting with the auditors how impressed they were again with our financial team here at ESD, and I know all the work that goes into doing these audits and how thorough the team has been. So I want to express my appreciation to Kathleen, to Elaine, to everybody on ESD Finance and throughout the organization that is engaged, Tom, with these audits. So thank you all for doing an excellent job. Great. It's extremely important. You've done a great job. Thank you. I'm going to introduce Harvey Stenger quickly. Harvey is the president of Binghamton University. Before, are we back?
I think it
Hello?
Yeah.
Can you hear that?
yeah.
Okay. Before joining Binghamton University as the president, I know Harvey was interim provost at UB, University of Buffalo. I know he was chair of the engineering school at UB for years. I know he attended one of New York's premier academic institutions, Cornell University. I know he has a PhD in chemical engineering from MIT, which, compared to my marketing degree at Michigan State, is not that impressive. But I do think I should note for the record your academic accomplishments, Harvey. And Harvey has been co-chair of the Southern Tier Regional Economic Development Council for about 7 years, I think, Harvey, and has been an extraordinary partner in economic development with the state. These councils are a tremendous commitment of time, I think, as you all know, and Harvey has done a fabulous job. There are few institutions, really no other institutions I can think of, that more closely aligned with economic development as we think of it than Binghamton University. So whether you think about, obviously, workforce and the way BU provides a pipeline of highly educated and qualified students into the workforce. If you think about innovation and all of the research at a SUNY Research One institution that happens at Binghamton, think about accelerators or incubators or spin-off businesses that we have announced over the years that different students from Binghamton start in the region. If you think about downtown revitalization, which we talk about a lot of the projects that we've helped support align with our whole downtown revitalization mission. So with all of our four philosophical North Stars, Harvey, your university aligns so well with all of them. And we talk about really working with and supporting the anchor institutions of these regions, and it's almost impossible to think of another institution that plays as significant a role or is more closely aligned with our economic development strategy. So with that, we want to welcome you and thank you and look forward to your presentation about Binghamton.
Thank you, Howard.
Yep.
Again, honored to be asked to come and give a brief presentation on the things that Binghamton University specifically has done in the Southern Tier. Being co-chair of the whole Southern Tier is
Yep.
not what my topic is going to be today.
Right.
I'm going to focus in on
Yep.
Binghamton University. I appreciate you commenting on our university's impact, because a lot of universities have that opportunity to do, to have that impact. I think, is it throwing up or slides? Okay. A lot of universities have the opportunity to do this, but it really takes a motivation that's more than just it's good to do. And my story is I grew up in Central New York. I lived there until I left college and went to graduate school in Boston. And then I lived outside of the state for the next 29 years. And when I came back to Buffalo in 2006, and my father had worked at Carrier Air Conditioning in Syracuse as an engineer. When I came back in 2006, I said, what the heck happened? Where did all the jobs go? Why are all these factories empty? And I had just left Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, which had recovered from the loss of their steel mill at about that time. So I was highly motivated. And at Buffalo, I was highly motivated, but I wasn't in charge. I was the dean and the interim provost. But at Binghamton University, being a leader, you can make things happen. You can move things. So now that the slides have warmed up a little bit, coming into focus, have to start with a little pandering, right? Get the chair up there, get the governor up there. Howard, you probably remember this. This was the beam signing event for our School of Pharmacy and Pharmaceutical Sciences, probably about a year and a half ago. There's a rendering there on the front of the beam, and it was an exciting day because, as you know, Howard, having toured the area, this really was a transformational project in the Johnson City area. So I'm going to talk about specifically the impacts that ESD's funding has made in the Binghamton area. Binghamton University, founded in 1946, really is a liberal arts college, almost specifically for GIs returning to the area after World War II. But it changed significantly after it became a SUNY campus in the 1960s and then expanded to a doctoral institution shortly after that. And now we have 17,000 students, 5 professional schools, a School of Pharmacy and Pharmaceutical Sciences, School of Management, College of Community and Public Affairs, a nursing school, and an engineering school. And in the last fiscal year, we did $44 million of research expenditures. So we've changed, and this year it'll be about $48 million of research expenditures. So we've changed significantly in the 60 or so years of our history. To note, we have 4 federal research centers. Now, these are multi-year, multi-million-dollar programs, one in battery technology, one in alcohol addiction, one in data centers, and one in flexible electronics. And you've been supporting several of those through ESD funds. These are the investments specifically provided by the Empire State Development over the past 6 years, approximately. 22 and a half, and they're not in chronological order, they're kind of in order of impact sometimes. Health Sciences Campus, I'll talk about that specifically, $22.5 million that's been committed. We haven't spent any of that yet, but it's been committed in the next several years. $7 million for the Southern Tier Incubator. That project is completed, and I'll talk more about that. $20 million over a 5-year period for the Federal Research Center. This is a Department of Defense program. I'll talk a little bit about that. And then 3 smaller projects that are on our main campus. Our Global Center, which helps us recruit highly talented international students as undergraduates and graduate students. A freshman research immersion program where about 1/3 of our entering freshmen do research projects in their freshman and sophomore year. So a great recruiting tool. The best and brightest students want this opportunity when they come to college because many of them are thinking about going to graduate school. Probably one of the few of these programs in the country. And then a smaller investment in our battery dry room, which is where we fabricate and assemble lithium batteries. And you have to do that in a very ultra dry room. And you help support that as well. All the projects were matched 4-to-1. So if you add those up, it's about $52 million, and we've matched each one of those projects individually with 4-to-1 investments of our own from different sources. The layout of the area. The greater Binghamton area is about 100,000 people. The city of Binghamton, about 50,000 people. The city of Binghamton is on the right-hand side, and I'm just showing you where those investments have been made. On the left-hand side is Endicott. Endicott is a town that is where IBM was started and founded many years ago. In the top there is Johnson City. The Health Sciences campus is located there. And then Binghamton University is where those 3 smaller programs are, the Global Center, the FRI program, and our battery dry room is located. It's about 3 miles between any of the 2 green dots on there, so it's a relatively small footprint. It used to be called the Triple Cities because of the 3 cities, Endicott, Johnson, and Binghamton. And Johnson City is the previous home of the Endicott Johnson Shoe Company, which was a highly successful shoe company, especially during World War II. I think they manufactured the majority of the footwear for our soldiers in World War II, and then after that, slowly closed down. Let me first talk about the Health Sciences campus. This was kind of a bit of a copy. I've been to other universities where the medical schools moved downtown. Buffalo's doing it. Virginia Commonwealth did it. Cornell does it. You have to, because your hospitals typically are found, medical schools are typically found in urban areas because you need beds, you need patients, you need hospitals where those students can train. But we don't have a medical school, but we do have a great hospital. And the idea was, let's locate a new school, a School of Pharmacy and Pharmaceutical Sciences, as close to the hospital that is in our area as possible. And we found a great property. With the state of New York's support, we were able to purchase that property, and there's a rendering there of the pharmacy building, the largest building on the left-hand side of that drawing. that was the first idea, the first construction, and that was the beam signing event I was talking about. But then we decided this is a big idea. We have to probably think a little bit bigger than just a School of Pharmacy and Pharmaceutical Sciences. So in about maybe a year ago, we proposed a a URI proposal to move our School of Nursing to Johnson City. And we were awarded through the URI program $22.5 million of ESD funds to do that. We're finishing the pharmacy building right now. We're doing final touches. We're working on a schedule for the governor to come down and have a ribbon cutting so that we can announce that it's open. We have already admitted our first class and second class of pharmacy students. It's a 4-year doctoral program, and those students started on our main campus last year. But this fall they'll be moving into our new building this fall. And the university and the State University of New York's commitment has been $130 million of match to that project. This is an Endicott Johnson factory. It's when it was operating. You can see the years of those cars. It's probably in the 1950s, early 1960s. This was where they made boxes for the shoes. It was the box factory. It's been vacant and abandoned for probably 30, 40 years now. And we acquired it through back taxes and purchased the property and are now doing a full renovation of the facility to move our Decker School of Nursing. It's 6 stories tall. It has 90,000 square feet of space. It will be a state-of-the-art nursing school with a lot of simulation. It'll also allow us to expand into some new programs. We're adding occupational therapy, physical therapy, and speech therapy programs, and those will be on the upper floors. But it'll also be a community place. There's going to be a IT commons in the first floor, dining services for people who are in the area. And Johnson City, in the last few decades, has not been a very successful small village. It's actually been very poor, a high poverty rate, a very high crime rate as well. And as we move in, we're very sensitive to gentrification, making sure that we're doing these things right, looking at the neighborhood and trying to make sure that the neighborhoods are being improved, and also working with private developers so that things are done appropriately in the neighborhoods around us, so that it protects the consistency and the fabric of the community that's already there. In fact, one of the big projects that's just completed, even though that building up in the upper right-hand corner, that was the before picture. The kitchen in the lower one is the after picture of one of the apartments that's been finished inside of that old Endicott Johnson factory. This was a private developer, Century Sunrise Apartments from downstate. Mr. Regan came in. $29 million residential project, 104 affordable apartments. These are income-based apartments, so tax credits were used to do a lot of the construction, plus his own financial support. Not shown as a picture, but we've also, as a part of our nursing school, created a wellness center in the neighborhood. And I'll show you a map of the downtown Johnson City area in a minute. We know that a lot of the folks that live in this area are elderly and not of a high income. And the concern these days is readmissions into hospitals. And so this wellness center will help us provide support for elderly patients rather than having them walk down to the emergency room and be readmitted for a chronic condition. This is an aerial of the Johnson City area. Wilson Hospital in the upper left in red. A few properties at 85 to 99 Corliss Avenue that that are abandoned properties that we've purchased and we're tearing down. School of Pharmacy and Pharmaceutical Sciences, the buildings that are there were the buildings that were there when we purchased the property. They were old metal buildings, and they did some fabrications of burlap sacks in there, was the company that was there, and they were happy to move. The Decker School of Nursing is in the right-hand corner there, or the right-hand side of the pharmacy building. Also, we recently received another grant from the State University of New York to build an R&D building that'll be next to the pharmacy building. And then further to the right, 4246 Corliss Avenue, was a donation from one of our alums of 4.5 acres of an old abandoned building that was a factory at one time, but we're going to be tearing it down. And temporarily it'll be parking, but the ultimate goal for that property is shovel-ready sites for industrial partners. Some of the faculty that we're hiring in the pharmaceutical sciences area are inventors. They are creating and discovering new drugs, and we think that once we're fully occupied inside that building, that we'll have the opportunity to recruit companies, partners, and we're holding the 4246 site for those company partners to expand. And Howard, I think you were there. We walked down Corliss Avenue and looked at some of these buildings.
Yeah, and what's great, if you look at the proximity of all these projects to one another, and you think about, Harvey said, and he showed you a picture of a building that was vacant and abandoned. Vacant and abandoned. Here in New York City, we don't hear those words that often. In upstate New York, vacant and abandoned. 40 years, he said. 40 years. You hear me talk about this all the time. We had 40 tough years. But we are repurposing a lot of buildings across upstate that were vacant and abandoned. And there was a time when the sensibility, and I think we have helped here bring a sensibility of investing in these downtowns and not just sprawling out to greenfield sites and building new buildings and building more roads and building more sewer infrastructure and leaving buildings in the core to be vacant and abandoned for another 40 years. So repurposing these buildings, creating that connectivity to downtown. It's no coincidence that people are investing in apartments downtown here, Century City. It's because the university and the state are making investments. So you have private sector developers coming in and saying, okay, I see, we're going to have more employment here. We're going to have more students. We're going to have more professionals. We're going to increase the workforce. I can invest in apartments downtown. You create a place that people want to stay. You become more successful attracting people. Harvey's University continues to grow. It's a virtuous cycle as opposed to the former vacant and abandoned. And we have a Better Binghamton Fund was one of our strategies in the southern tier, where you're going to see dozens of buildings that the state helps redevelop and repurpose that were in many instances vacant and abandoned. So this is our strategy, perfectly implemented with the university and with private sector partners.
And I did not show some other potential properties on this map that we're working actively on.
Right.
There are more to come, ideas in this area. Let me quickly go now to the Binghamton area, downtown Binghamton and the Kaufman Incubator. When I got to Binghamton, I was familiar with high-tech incubators being at Buffalo and at Lehigh before that, but when I got to Binghamton, there was not a high-tech incubator, and people said we never needed one. We had IBM. We really didn't have to have startup companies. So that was one of the first projects that we brought through the REDC. We got a $7 million grant from REDC. We matched it with 12 other $1 million from these different organizations, the federal EDA program, SUNY 2020, the agency, which is our local IDA, the Research Foundation contributed, and then we also received a $6 million private donation that supports the operations. It's an endowment that supports the full operations of this incubator. And the Kaufman family were the naming opportunity there. This is an interesting graph. In 2006, we opened a building on campus, and part of the building was dedicated to startup companies. You can see we had 1, 2, 3, 4 in those first couple of years, companies inside the university, and we maxed out our capacity. In 2014, we opened up another building on campus, and we added the 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12th company. Then we opened up the downtown incubator in 2017, and that's the spike. That's when we went to over 30 companies that are associated with our incubators and our startup locations on campus and in the downtown area. And the projects are widespread. We have a virtual reality company, photovoltaics company, microagriculture, artificial intelligence, battery technology, telemedicine, mostly in the technology side, a lot of them in energy and a lot of them in biotechnology. So far, we've been open for a little more than a year. We're 90% occupied. We have 3 companies that have graduated and moved into the local area. The companies that are in the incubator program have raised $10 million in capital during that year. And at the same time, our management of the building has done a great job of getting grants. And these grants come from both the federal government, the National Science Foundation, as well as the NYSERDA program and some of the other hotspot programs in the state. And that helps us run programs. It's not just about a space for a company. It's about how to become an entrepreneur, how to start a company. And there is actually ways that you can learn how to do that in better ways. The last area is Endicott, which is on the left-hand side. Endicott, the home of IBM, the original home of IBM. They left behind 3 million square feet of factory space when they moved to their downstate location. Some of it almost brand new, a lot of it just very old. In the brand new space, we have created a new company. We are moving a company that was actually in our incubator space on campus to the IBM space, one of the nicer, more modern spaces of IBM, the old IBM space. And this is Shailesh Uprate. Shailesh worked for Stan Whittingham. Stan is a professor at Binghamton University. He actually has his name on the original lithium battery patent when he worked at Exxon. And Stan's technology, not Stan himself, but Stan's technology has given some of the great ideas that Shailesh has now commercialized. And they are building a factory, a battery factory in the Huron campus. It's great because the building is already there. They acquired a company in North Carolina where a lot of the fabrication equipment is being moved from. Now he's chasing after Elon Musk, so he's got a lot of courage. But that's okay. I think he's chasing a crazy man, so maybe he'll catch him. And this is right now, Shailesh has raised over $130 million for this project, and he did receive $7.5 million in grants and tax credits from ESD. Look, right next to the building that Shailesh is moving in, Binghamton University has a federal research center, and this research center is a great partnership with Corning, General Electric Healthcare, Lockheed Martin, Universal Instruments, and some of the other smaller companies as well as Xerox. What we're doing here is we're manufacturing integrated circuits on flexible glass. Flexible glass. Corning has developed a glass that can actually be rolled into sheet rolls, and then they can be processed like you would process wallpaper and printing on the side as it rolls through the printing process. And because it's on glass, it can make very high quality circuits. So these are some of the applications of these that are mostly the interest of the Department of Defense are biosensors that are worn by soldiers in the field. Because they're very high quality, they can monitor heart rate, they can monitor saline content of your perspiration. They can then communicate that information to your handheld device, and that handheld device can communicate back to the headquarters. And so immediately you can get a mapping because saline content tends to predict stress levels. You can look at the stress levels of a combat field and know where activity is occurring. That's just one of the many projects that's coming out of this program. And ESD funded this program as a matching grant to the Department of Defense, $20 million. We're spending about $4 million a year on this project, and ESD has been providing $4 million of match, as well as the corporate partners providing their $4 million per year of match. It's just a picture of one of the roll devices where we're actually printing electronic circuits onto flexible glass. And this is kind of the end here. Our overall economic impact, Binghamton University in the southern tier has about a $1.2 billion economic impact. You know, the way these things are calculated, you do your direct expenditures, then you look at indirect expenditures, then there's a multiplier effect on top of that. It's about 13% of the GDP of the greater Binghamton area. We have 5,400 people that are employed and support more than 6,000 additional jobs in the area. And as Howard mentioned, there's a lot of smart alumni who graduate from Binghamton, and 70,000 of them still reside in New York State, many of them in the downstate area, but a lot of them in the upstate area as well. And then lastly, I wanted to kind of give a return on investment impact of what we've tried to accomplish with the support of ESD over the last 4 years. So if you just look at 2012, 13, and 2016, 17, these are our direct actual expenditures that the university makes. In 2013, we spent $650 million. These are mostly salaries, but there's also energy costs in there, maintenance costs to buildings. In 2016-17, we spent $783 million of direct expenditures. We got no increase in state appropriation. This is all from research and from tuition and from entrepreneurial activities, intellectual property activities. During that period of time, we've received $52 million from ESD, of which we've spent a little less than half because the projects are still in process. And we've received another 70 or $80 million from the State University of New York through the construction capital projects that are allocated each year. With that $130 million of state investments, we've increased our enrollment by 2,700 students. We've increased our faculty and staff by 450 people. And so the return on investment is $133 million a year in increased expenditures for the $130 million in capital that we've received. And that's a good return on investment. That's about a one-year payback on those investments. And I would think that in the next couple of years, as we finish the projects and actually spend down the rest of the grants, so it'll be even a larger return on investment than that, maybe even a payback period of less than a year for these investments. So I'm here to say thank you, and to thank you also for allowing me to come and give this presentation. I hope it was helpful.
Yep.
Yes. So Derek,
Oh, yeah, sure, great.
So I just had a quick question.
over enrollment is about 17,500 students. This will be this fall.
And for the pharmacy?
Pharmacy school, there'll be 90 students in a class, so there'll be 360 total when we have all 4 years there. Right now, we have about 160 of them on campus. And then there'll also be probably about 50 PhD students on top of the 360 Doctor of Pharmacy students.
That's great to have that.
It is great, and I tell people, just by moving these schools into a vacant and abandoned area, you attract these private investments, and the transformation is remarkable. Students bring a lot of life into a new community.
So, I just wonder if the new businesses that come into the incubators, are they local businesses or local folks that relocate, or the people from outside the region?
Some are local. We have the 76 West competition, which is the competition on clean energy. And those companies, they come from all over. We have a company from Scranton that came and competed and did well last year. They're moving into the incubator from Scranton. So most of them know how to get to Binghamton. They're not coming from California or from Boston. But I would say probably half of them are from local,
Yep.
but half of them are outside a 2-hour drive.
Great, thanks.
Great. Any other questions for Harvey?
Just a quick one, softball. There's an election coming on, I've heard, in the state of New York. And part of the criticism of the current leadership is that they wasted an awful lot of money upstate. You don't see any return. How would you respond to that?
Well, that's why I try to put some numbers to it, because you can talk about qualitative changes, but when you look at quantitative changes, and when you look at that growth of $130 million a year in expenditures, that goes right into the community. That's money that's spent in the community, paying taxes, buying groceries, shopping, supporting the local state parks, county parks, and you can see a noticeable difference in the economic activity in the area, especially in the downtown areas. I think the problem is that people want things quicker than they actually can happen. The downtown Johnson City area will take 10 years to transform, 10 years before you'll see the kind of impact that we saw in downtown Binghamton. We moved one building to downtown Binghamton 12 years ago with 600 students. And downtown Binghamton now is rated one of the top 25 college towns in the United States, just because of that one move. We're going to be moving twice as many students into Johnson City, and over the next 10 years, I expect probably a twice as high impact there as well. I think you have to be patient. It's like Startup New York. You have to be patient. You have to wait for a Shailesh Upreti to move through all the things he had to do to raise that capital and have that factory start up. I think people just are a little impatient sometimes, but that's the nature of the business.
I mean, I think you'd all agree you're hard-pressed to find another example of an institution that can have such a profound impact on its city and its region, and all the ways that you saw that. And, it's sexier to announce, some big company relocated, but economic development really is a lot of blocking and tackling, and the organic growth is more important in many ways than the relocated business. And Harvey's planting seeds for the economic future by training the workforce, investing in the downtown, doing the research, and then creating an environment through its incubators to start new businesses. And that will have more impact over time and continually doing the right thing than any one. There is no silver bullet project. These regions need all of these components in order to have sustainable economic growth and to make a real impact. So, Binghamton doesn't have to be the Sun Belt right away. We can first be the best Binghamton we can be. Then we can talk about, the Sun Belt. But after 40 years of decline in these regions, doing the right thing, taking a 40-year-old abandoned buildings, repurposing them, making investments, don't let anyone tell you that there's any quick fixes to these things. These are really important steps, and there's no institution that can have this kind of impact more than Harvey's institution. So thank you, Harvey. And it's a great example of how both an institution and a leader, how a person and how a management team can have such a profound impact. So we want to, again, thank you.
Thank you, Howard. Appreciate it. Really appreciate it.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too. I don't think we have a project on the docket today, so I can excuse myself.
Get back to the economic development.
Thanks for coming, Harvey. Great job.
Thank you very much.
Excellent. So, before I turn the program over to Glendon to give a summary of the projects, I want to recognize Joyce Miller, whose service with the board has come to an end. Joyce really was a very dedicated, very committed, very insightful board member and very engaged. And her service here goes back to 2010. So I want to thank Joyce and recognize the contributions that she made to ESD and to the state of New York through her participation. And we'll hopefully meet Eric Gertler, who the governor nominated and I believe the Senate approved to join our board. Eric has a background in both technology and media and has been an EVP at New York City Economic Development Corporation and has a very distinguished career with a lot of involvement in venture, again, media, business development, and so we're excited about introducing all of you to Eric, hopefully at the next meeting. So with that, Glendon.
Thank you, and good morning. The directors will be requested to consider 17 projects totaling $10,670,063 in grants. The project will include 14 regional council awards and 4 discretionary awards. The project will take place in Western New York, Southern Tier, Finger Lakes, Mohawk Valley, Mid-Hudson, New York City, North Country, and the Capital Regions, leverage over $44 million of additional investments, retain 173 jobs, and create 132 jobs in the state. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thanks, Glendon. All right, we'll get into the projects, and we'll start with Chris Shefflin. Chris, Western New York.
Thank you, Howard. Good morning, everybody. We have 2 projects, both in Niagara Falls this morning. First, the directors are requested to approve 2 grants totaling $400,000 for the recently completed $3.4 million capital project that built a new 3,500 square foot penguin exhibit at the Aquarium of Niagara Falls. Western New York's tourism strategy for Niagara Falls includes extending visitor stay and increasing expenditure per visit, and this project contributes toward those targets. For example, the exhibit opened in March of this year, and the aquarium has seen a 20% increase in monthly visitor attendance over the past quarter. The Niagara Falls Aquarium is located immediately adjacent to Niagara Falls State Park and is the most visited attraction outside of the state park, with over 270,000 annual visitors. The $400,000 in grants are made up of $300,000 from Regional Council Round 6 and $100,000 from Market New York. In addition to the penguin exhibit, this project does include new classroom space where regional schools are working in STEM science curriculum as part of their trip to the aquarium. The next project is the Highland Avenue Business Park. The directors are requested to approve a $500,000 Round 5 CFA Priority Project capital grant to the City of Niagara Falls for a portion of a $2.58 million construction renovation and leasehold project in what was a long vacant group of 3 buildings in one of the City of Niagara Falls designated brownfield opportunity areas. The state investment in the core and shell of these buildings that were long vacant leveraged just under $750,000 in city and national grid funds and an additional $1.3 million in private investment. And the city has successfully leased these buildings to Sandstone Springs LLC, a company that, among other things, is taking all of the waste manufactured by DuPont in nearby Tonawanda of their Corian product and employing a process that returns the Corian back to its original raw material, which Sandstone then sells back about 27,000 tons a year back to DuPont for use in new Corian products. Thank you, and I'm happy to take questions.
Okay, great. Thanks, Chris. Questions from directors on either of these two items? Is there a motion to approve both items? Sorry, I should ask if there's any comment from the public on these. Great. Is it seconded? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. Okay, thanks, Chris.
Thanks,
Mike,
everybody.
Yep. Mike Evely is up. Mike, and I, again, will recuse from Danforth.
Good morning, Howard. Good morning, directors. I have 3 projects to present this morning. The first project, directors are asked to approve a $575,000 capital grant to John W. Danforth Company. The company was awarded the grant through round 6 of the CFA to support a $4.2 million expansion and retain 133 existing jobs and create 100 new jobs. The project was considered a regionally significant project and is in line with the REDC's goals of creating jobs and supporting our growing technology sector. J.W. Danforth is an employee-owned company, mechanical contracting company that specializes in sheet metal and piping fabrication. The company has operations in Buffalo, Rochester, and Syracuse, and expanded into the Capital Region in 2013 by purchasing a warehouse in the town of Half Moon in Saratoga County. To accommodate immediate and long-term projected business and job growth in and around the Capital Region, J.W. Danforth needed to expand the facility by constructing a 2-story addition that would provide an additional 30,000 square feet of space. The project was completed in October 2017, and the company has already exceeded its employment commitment, having created 108 new jobs. Second project that the board is asked to consider is a $317,000 capital grant to the Center for Disability Services Incorporated. The commercial print services project was a round 3 priority project to support a $1,583,000 investment in facility renovations and machinery and equipment purchases to create a one-stop transactional data printing mailing center, service center in Albany. The Center for Disability Services is a not-for-profit organization that provides services to adults and seniors with disabilities and their families throughout 15 upstate New York counties. The Center for Disability Services offers mailing services to public and private sector organizations, providing employment opportunities for its clients. The center has witnessed reductions in public funding to support its programs and services, while the demand for transactional data services such as reproduction, printing, scanning, and mailing has increased as more organizations outsource printing and mailing operations. The project was completed in December 2017, and the center has obtained additional contracts and secured employment for 28 individuals, 10 of which have disabilities and would not likely be employed had this project not been supported by ESD. And the third project the board is asked to consider is a $300,000 capital grant to the Legal Aid Society of Northeastern New York, otherwise known as LASNY. The project was a round 6 CFA priority and is in line with our opportunity agenda. LASNY is a not-for-profit that provides free legal services to people of low income or other barriers accessing the legal system. The ESD capital grant supported a $1.5 million investment in the acquisition and renovation of a building at 95 Central Avenue to create a Center for Legal Services on Lower Central Avenue in the city of Albany. The location is adjacent to some of Albany's most disadvantaged neighborhoods. The project was completed in April 2018, and a 5% increase is expected in the number of legal cases closed annually. This is based on their proximity to the walk-in applicants. Their former locations were primarily accessed by vehicles or longer bus rides. So this is putting them within walking distance to much closer to their client base. That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Are there any questions for Mike on either of these 3 Capital Region projects? Any comment from the public on any of these items? Is there a motion to approve all 3 items? Thanks, Eric. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? No. And I have a recused, I'm sorry, from Danforth. Okay, moving to the Mid-Hudson. Megan, take it away.
Good morning, everyone. And before I get started, I have to say I'm a proud alumnus of Binghamton University. So very excited to hear all the things that are going on, and go Bearcats. So I just wanted to say, so I'm here presenting a $750,000 Regional Council capital grant from 2014 for Green Chimneys expansion project in the village of Brewster in Putnam County. A 2014 CFA Priority Project awardee, Green Chimneys invested $5 million to expand its special education school and nursery school through rehabilitating and reconstructing 2 existing vacant buildings on its campus in Brewster to increase student capacity by 24 in its special education school and 36 in its preschool, pre-K, and after-school programs. In addition, Green Chimneys modernized its IT capabilities through developing a new server room, as well as other things. As one of the largest employers in Putnam County, the Green Chimneys project will retain 40 employees and create 32 new full-time jobs and provide construction jobs for local contractors, as well as address Green Chimneys' extensive waiting list for services. Founded in 1947, Green Chimneys is a not-for-profit organization helping young people throughout the Hudson Valley and New York State by providing residential, educational, clinical, and recreational services that create and nurture connections to the community and the natural world. Headquartered at a farm and wildlife rehabilitation center with more than 300 animals and birds in Brewster, New York, Green Chimneys has become nationally and internationally recognized as offering an extremely effective solution for healing and improving the life of some of the most challenged children through animal-assisted and nature-based therapies. In addition, Green Chimneys Open Campus provides extensive community resources and recreational opportunities for the public to connect with and learn about the environment. This project is complete, and they are moving ahead. They have almost hit their entire 32 net new full-time jobs, and this project closely aligns with the Mid-Hudson Regional Economic Development Council's work strategy in ensuring that high-quality jobs are being created in the region. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, any questions for Megan from the directors on this item? Any comments from the public on this? Is there a motion to approve?
Moved.
Thank you. Is there a second? Somebody?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thanks, Megan. Moving to the Finger
No problem.
Lakes, Saul Monero. You've got 2 items. Saul?
Hi, everyone. I hope you can hear me. I have 2 items, as Howard stated, and I'll just jump right into the first. The first project, the directors are requested to approve a $500,000 capital grant to the Village of Arcade for construction, renovation, and the purchase of machinery and equipment. This project will provide significant upgrades to sewer and wastewater treatment and increase their capacity and productivity. The project includes multiple repairs and upgrades to the main control building for wastewater treatment, and will also include replacement of grit removal equipment, repair of their overall structure, and upgrades to treatment tanks and outdated chlorination system. The project will allow them to connect to several commercial developments, including a proposed tri-county business park. The village provides low-cost electric and sewage treatment services to the towns of Yorkshire, Freedom, and Sardinia, and this will allow them to connect that that system further into those towns. And do you want me to go on to the next one? Or
Yes, please. Yep, take the next item.
take questions?
No,
All right.
go on.
Second item, the directors are requested to approve a $1 million capital grant to Nazareth College of Rochester for construction of a new 2,300 square foot, 550-seat performance hall on the college's Pittsford campus. Nazareth was founded in 1924 and is a private college located in the town of Pittsburgh, suburb of Rochester. They presently have 60 majors in the field of education, health, human services, math and science, and the visual and performing arts. They have an enrollment of 2,000 undergraduates and 800 graduate students. The project will attract larger scale concerts than the college could previously accommodate, and the new facility will provide higher quality audience experiences and a greater number of seats, thereby encouraging increased visitation as an arts and tourism venue. The project will also enhance the college's music education program, where 75% of the college's music graduates are presently employed in a music-related field. Construction was completed in May 2018, and ESD's portion is 6% of this $15.5 million project.
Okay, thanks, Saul. Any questions from directors to Saul on either of these two items?
I just have Saul, where is the village of Arcade?
Arcade is located in the southwestern portion of Wyoming County, which basically it's at the intersection of 4 different counties. Erie County, it's actually closer to Buffalo than it is to Rochester, even though it's in the Finger Lakes region, but it's also near the corner where Cattaraugus and Allegheny County also kind of all 4 intersect.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
You're welcome.
Comments for Saul? Any comments from the public on these items? Is there a motion to approve them?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Thanks. Donna Howell from...
Thank you.
Yep, thanks, Saul. The Southern Tier is actually with us today at the end of the table. Welcome back, Donna, and take it away.
All right, good morning. Thank you. This morning, the directors are requested to approve a $1 million grant to Cornell University for a portion of the cost of construction, renovation, and furnitures, fixtures, and equipment for the Ithaca Business Incubator called REV, which is part of a larger redevelopment, including a mixed-use expansion of a historic building in downtown Ithaca that includes retail, residential, and the business incubator. As a result of the Regional Economic Development Council initiative, Cornell was awarded a capital grant through round 3 of the Consolidated Funding, or CFA, process. ESD funding will provide necessary resources to expand the building, which includes the 9,000 square feet of flexible work and event space for the incubator. REV, or Ithaca Startup Works is another name, will serve as a central location for entrepreneurial support to qualifying startups in the Southern Tier region. And that incubator, along with the Kaufman in Binghamton, is part of our Southern Tier Startup Alliance network of incubators. The project is consistent with the Southern Tier Regional Economic Development Council plan to invest in downtown revitalization, historic preservation, infrastructure improvements, and increase access to affordable housing, stimulate job creation, and support the Southern Tier's entrepreneurial ecosystem. I'm happy to take any questions.
Great. Any questions for Donna on this Cornell Incubator project? Any comments from the public on this item? Is there a motion to approve?
Move.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you, Donna. Mike Reese from the Mohawk Valley has an item on Griffiths Institute. Mike?
Good morning, Howard and ESD board members. At the June 23rd, 2016 ESD board meeting, the directors approved a regional council capital grant in the amount of $1.1 million to the Griffiths Local Development Corporation to be used as a portion of the design and construction of a 20,000 square foot expansion of the Griffiths Institute in Rome, New York. Today I'm asking the directors to approve this $1.1 million grant again because there's been a change in the project scope and budget. Project purpose will remain the same, but the location of the proposed building to be constructed will now be at a larger site within the Griffiths Business and Technology Park, and the budget is increased from $5.9 million to $7,734,340. The GLDC will now construct a new 32,000 square foot facility at 99 Otis Street, which is adjacent to the Air Force Research Laboratory and across the street from the Unmanned Aircraft System Operations Center. This location will help facilitate and leverage increased technology transfer from the Air Force Research Lab as well as New Air Alliance's drone technology development. GLDC has entered into discussions with the New York State Technology Enterprise Corporation on a joint venture for the new building, with NISTEC having a 45% membership in the LLC. NISTEC will also contribute funding for the project and lease the entire second floor. First floor space will be shelled and marketed to other technology firms who have or are seeking contracts with the Air Force Lab or want to locate next to the UAS test site at Griffiths. The project will also count additional ESD funding toward its financing sources from a $500,000 local assistance grant, which is also scheduled for approval at this June 2018 board meeting. The project is consistent with the Mohawk Valley REDC strategy to develop STEM-intensive industries. I would be glad to answer any questions you have.
Okay, great. Thanks, Mike. Any questions from directors for Mike on this item with Griffiths? Any comments from the public? Is there a motion to approve?
Move.
Thank you. Second. Cesar, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thanks, Mike. Moving to the North Country, Steve Hunt has an item, North Country Sports Council, Working Capital Project. Steve.
Yes, good morning, Howard.
Hi.
Good morning, board members. I'm presenting one project today from the North Country. In the North Country's Upstate Revitalization Initiative plan, the Regional Council identified the need to determine the viability of exploiting the 1980 Olympic venues as a means to spur economic growth and increase economic employment opportunities in the North Country. It was determined that the venues were not competitive with other national and international winter sports competition and training sites, and the venues were not economically sustainable. The council concluded that in order to justify the needed financial infusion of capital, a new approach was necessary. As a result of these findings, we're seeking approval today of a $1.4 million working capital grant for the Adirondack North Country Sports Council in order for them to develop the operations and a timeline to secure national and international multi-sport events, including the 2023 FISU World University Games, which is second in size only to the Olympic Winter Games, and the 2019 International Children's Games. The project will lay the foundation to secure national, international multi-sport events, and we're expected to positively impact the regional quality of life and economic growth needs, and directly again address the strategy of the regional council, specifically to strengthen the North Country's global sports brand by attracting international sporting events like the two I mentioned.
Any questions from directors for Steve on this item?
Just what is the money going to do?
What is the money used for specifically, Steve?
This will specifically be used for the administrative function for preparing for the two events that are coming down the pike. The FISU Games is a.
No, I understand that, but is
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Is this to compete to get the games? This administrative work? I'm not sure I understand that.
Are you competing with other locations to get
There
the games?
was a competition to receive the games, and Governor Cuomo announced in March that the World University Games actually signed a memorandum of understanding with the Adirondack North Country Sports Committee to locate in Lake Placid for 2023. So no, this is not for the competition. This is actually to set help them set the groundwork for the competition when it actually arrives.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Steve. Any other questions or comments from directors? Any comments from the public on this item? Is there a motion to approve? Thank you. Second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. Okay. Thanks, Steve. Simone Bethune will present the Market New York Grant Program. Simone.
Thank you. Good morning. We have 3 working capital projects from round 7 of Market New York today that we'll be requesting board approval for. The first is the Bethelwood Center for the Arts, a grant of $689,063, which has been awarded to the Bethelwood Center for the Arts located in the Mid-Hudson region. The grantee will use Market New York funds to promote a number of events and activities commemorating the 50th anniversary of the historic 1969 Woodstock Festival, attracting tourism and economic growth to the Mid-Hudson region. Themed events such as concerts, films, a national poster competition, all encouraging direct visitation during the special event series, while also highlighting the museum and historic site as a continuing attraction to inspire future visitation to the Mid-Hudson region. The second grant is a $264,000 award to the Ski Areas of New York, otherwise known as SANY. This organization is headquartered in the North Country region, but it will be a statewide focused working capital project. The grantee will use funds for the promotion of a multimedia program to promote skiing and riding snowboards in and throughout the ski areas of New York State, with a primary focus on growth of their flagship program, Kids Ski Free. The goal of the program is to grow the sport and introduce kids to the world of winter sports to retain them as skiers for a lifetime. And finally, a $375,000 grant, which was awarded to the Heritage of Pride, also known as New York City Pride. The grant funds will be used for the promotion of World Pride, a special event and the first in the United States, which will coincide with the 50th anniversary of the Stonewall Uprising in June 2019. It is expected that this event will run for the entire month of June and will draw an estimated 1 million attendees and reach a total of 3 million people from around the globe to the New York City region. And I can take any questions.
Okay, great. Any questions for Simone on these Market New York tourism-oriented projects?
Only a comment.
A comment. Go ahead, comment.
50 years ago, Woodstock?
50 years
Feels
ago.
like only yesterday.
Didn't I see you on the old videos?
Yeah, that's me.
I'm pretty sure. 50, yeah. Any other questions or comments? Okay, is there comments from the public? Is there a motion to approve? Second, thank you. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thanks. Simone, you still have the floor,
Yes.
so take it away.
Okay, this is for the approval of the Restore calendar. Excuse me. The directors will be asked to consider approval of 3 Round 4 Restore grants. The first is a $500,000 grant to the town of Watertown. The town will use Restore funds to fully renovate a 10,000 square foot building which has been prepared for occupancy by a privately owned automobile dealership. The renovated facility and the vehicle sales business will draw additional business and commercial activity to the Auto Row area and remove blight from the business area in the town of Watertown. The project will be complete this month at a cost of $850,000. We also have a second award of $500,000 to the town of Crown Point for renovations to the former Agway feed store on Route 9, which will become a new distillery business owned and operated by Work and New Spirits LLC. To date, the company has performed abatement and remediation, select demolition, stabilization, site cleanup, and debris removal, and the project is expected to be complete by December 2020 at a cost of $708,000. And the third grant is also a $500,000 grant to the Village of Wappingers Falls. Excuse me. Restore New York funds will be used to construct a new building in place of the former Goring Hall building, which was a multi-unit mixed-use property that collapsed in 2012. The project represents creation of a mixed-use development to infill a gap in the streetscape left vacant after the building's collapse. The new building will feature ground floor commercial space and 8 residential units and is expected to be complete in August 2019 at a cost of approximately $2 million. Thank you.
Great. Any questions or comments from directors on any of these 3 Restore New York grant items? Any comments from the public on these? Is there a motion to approve them? Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? No. Thank you. We welcome Ray Salaberios, who will present the Metropolitan Economic Revitalization Fund, a.k.a. MERF, for the director's consideration. Ray.
Thank you, Howard. Good morning, everyone. The proposed MERF Alternative Financial Assistance Revolving Loan Program will be a revolving loan fund to provide access to capital for small business located within distressed communities of Mount Vernon, New Rochelle, Yonkers, and Nassau County. The program will target New York State small business owners who have historically had difficulty accessing regular credit markets by making low-cost credit available to eligible CDFIs to help them expand their lending capacity. There will be a significant effort to provide loans to minority women-owned business enterprises. Subject to the agreed-upon terms, covenants, and conditions outlined within the loan documents, each eligible CDFI may be awarded a loan of up to $1 million. The initial term of the loans to the CDFIs will be 5 years, during which only semi-annual interest payments will be required. After the 5th year, any remaining balance will be converted to a 5-year term at a rate of 1%. The selected lenders will be required to cap interest rates charged to potential small business borrowers at agreed-upon rate after consultation with ESD. Loans provided to the targeted businesses will be at a minimum of $25,000 and a maximum of $150,000 and will be utilized for fixed asset purchases and working capital needs. The program will also utilize the services of local entrepreneurial assistance programs to provide free technical assistance services to prospective borrowers who may need assistance in preparing the applications. Thank you.
Great. Any questions or comments from directors on this MRF item from Ray?
What is the annual percentage rate on these loans?
We're looking at an annual percentage of 8%.
And that includes all fees, costs, and charges?
There's usually a $150 application fee.
Other questions or comments on this MRF-related item? Any comments from the public on this item? Is there a motion to approve? Thank you. A second? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you, Ray. Simone and Tom Conoscenti will present the June non-discretionary projects consent calendar. Simone.
Thank you. I'll be presenting the first 3 items, and Tom will present the Kingsbridge item. The first item, the non-discretionary calendar, is a $500,000 grant to the Griffiths Local Development Corporation, or GLDC. GLDC will use a portion of this grant to construct a 32,000 square foot 2-story building at 99 Otis Street within the Griffiths Business and Technology Park for NICE-Tech, the New York State Technology Enterprise Expansion. The remaining 50% of the first floor space will be shelled and built out for additional technology companies. And the remaining portion of the grant will be allocated to modify building number 778 for the relocation and consolidation of Allion, a defense industry contractor. The project is expected to be complete in December 2018. The second award is a $554,000 grant to Jefferson County for the purchase and installation of an emergency radio system for use at Fort Drum Fire and Rescue Facility. The project will provide portable radios to each fire department and ambulance squad in Jefferson County, and also assist with emergency communications facilitated through the Fort Drum military base. This project is expected to be complete in April 2019. And the third grant the directors are being asked to approve is actually a modification to a general project plan that was approved originally in June 2016. The grant is to Malone and McBroom, and we're requesting an increase of $30,000 on this grant, which was originally $686,506 to $716,506. The original grant was approved to complete surveying, planning, and engineering to mitigate damage from future flooding in areas affected by Tropical Storm Lee and Hurricane Irene. And the additional funding is coming from the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation, who has reallocated some of its unused flooding monies to this project. The additional funding will be used to complete the modeling of the Otsego Street Bridge, which is within the boundaries of the approved project locations. This project will be complete in December 2018. Thank you.
Great.
Thank you and good morning. The directors are being asked to approve a $7.5 million loan guarantee for the Kingsbridge Armory project. The loan guarantee will allow the developer to secure a loan from its anticipated construction lender, Citibank, to cover pre-development expenses. The pre-development expenses include direct and actual architecture and engineering expenses related to arriving at a guaranteed maximum price for the project. Funding for this guarantee is coming from the money that was approved in the special appropriation for Kingsbridge in last year's New York State budget and approved by the ESD Directors and Public Authorities Control Board for a permanent loan last fall. Since the last time the Kingsbridge project came to the board, the developer has secured non-binding term sheet agreements with Citibank and the Bank of Hope to fund the construction of Phase 1 of the project, which includes 5 ice rinks. The term sheets are contingent on the development team updating the architectural plans and arriving at a guaranteed maximum price for review by their lenders. This loan guarantee allows the project to advance to this next phase with the goal of beginning construction after. Thank you for your time, and I'm available to answer any questions.
Okay, let's see if we have any questions on any of these items from Simone or Tom. Any questions from directors on these?
I just have a question for
Yep.
you. We were asked to approve a grant for $30,000. I thought that those we didn't have to approve.
A what?
The grant for $30,000.
Oh, you mean, was that part of, I can't remember exactly what that was part of.
One
I
of
think it was to increase the
Increase,
flood,
that was
the flood
the-
mitigation costs.
Yeah.
Why, she's asking, why is that coming before us?
Yeah.
You mean it because it's under a threshold minimum?
Yes.
I'm not sure, I'll check
Well,
with legal.
The total, there was an increase of 30,000.
Okay.
The total is 700 and.
Oh, okay.
716.
Tom, the guarantee, what types of expenses can they incur and what type can't they incur, just so
Sure.
we're clear?
So it's specifically it's architectural drafting and plans. So the goal is to get a set that's to get the architectural set to a place where they can start to assess the guaranteed maximum price for the project, and then just engineering work that needs to be done in order to figure out the guaranteed maximum price. So it's literally just architecture and engineering services.
Okay. It's just important to note that because, we very purposely did not include in that fees to the developer or
Correct.
things of that nature, so that if the project, for whatever reason, doesn't advance, it won't have been an unsuccessful project yet successful for the developer. So it's important to have those interests aligned, and that was just an important way of structuring it. Any other questions or comments from directors on any of these items from Simone or Tom? Comments from the public on any of these items? Is there a motion to approve them? Thank you. A second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thanks, folks. Pravina is up next with 2 New York Venture items. Pravina.
Good morning. I'm here to request the board approval for 2 investments from our New York State Innovation Venture Capital Fund. The first one is for GiveGab, a software development firm in Ithaca that has developed software platform that manages fundraising and donor engagement activities for nonprofits. The company recently completed an acquisition of its largest competitor, Kimbia, a competitor in the nonprofit space that dramatically improved the scale and the size of the company. The investment required is $1.5 million for a $6.05 million preferred equity finance, subject to due diligence. Proceeds from this financing round will be used to build out GiveGab's sales and engineering teams, refine the company's software as a service platform, and other ordinary working capital requirements. To note, GiveGab has received state support through the Innovate Fund, which is our seed funding, which was invested $1.228 million. And GiveGab has had strong year-over-year growth from 2016 to 2017, it increased over 281% in revenues, and this coming year it looks to have a projected revenue growth of 496%, from 1.285 million to 7.66 million.
Oh, that's great.
So the second company is Curator. Curator is a company based in New York City. It provides mobile data platform for healthcare industry that enables enterprise-ware care transition notifications, clinical workflows, enterprise management, and secure messaging. Something that was talking about Bingham University, talking about readmissions for their North Care Center. This is a platform that would help to limit that with population. We're asking for a pro rata investment of $325,000 into a bridge round financing of $3.5 million. Proceeds from this financing will be used to develop the next new product as well as general working capital needs. Curator, just for current performance, has recorded over $1.94 million in revenue as compared to 1.1. The company ended the year with annual recurring revenue of 2.45, which is a 56% increase. Approximately 80% of the projected revenue for 2018 is already under contract. And in Q1, the company reported an annual revenue of $131K with gross margins of 76%.
Questions for Pravina on either of these two venture investments?
Is
Yep.
GiveGab profitable yet as a company?
It is profitable.
It is profitable.
Yeah.
So the investment is in the form of convertible bonds?
It's the first one, yeah, both are, the first one is preferred equity financing, the second one is in a form of convertible bonds.
And these are callable?
Question? I'm sorry.
Are these callable bonds?
The bonds are callable based on a liquidity event, so if they have a liquidity event, yes, then they'll be callable, but at the moment, there's no set date, so.
Other questions or comments from directors? Any comments from the public? Is there a motion to approve both of these items? Second? All in favor? Aye. Thanks, Pravina. Sam Baldock is up with an item related to the market order program. Sam?
Thank you. The directors are being requested to approve an Apple Research and Development contract with Cornell University for $499,395. This contract will be funded through the Apple Research and Development Program. Research services include 15 projects over a span of 1 year with built-in renewals of up to 5 additional years. And topics are similar to actually last year's contract as well. They include assessing commercial potential for new and advanced apple selections and varieties, increasing fruit production through best practices, and mitigating the effect of fire blight, bitter pit, stink bugs, and ambrosia beetles. And I'm happy to answer any questions from the directors.
Well, there's nothing more important than that. So is there any questions or comments from directors? Any comments from the public? Is there a motion to approve?
Move.
All in favor? Aye. Thanks, Sam. Way to go. Okay, moving right along, we have Benson Martin will present the first of our administrative actions, re-examination of our mission statement and related performance. Benson.
Good morning. The directors are requested to confirm their re-examination of ESD's mission statement and performance measures and re-adopt the current mission statement and performance measures. By way of background, this re-examination ensures that ESD complies with its obligation under New York State Public Authorities Law in a timely manner. Please note, however, that the board can re-examine and amend ESD's mission statement and performance measures at any time during the year if necessary. The directors were provided the current mission statement and performance measures and their board materials. I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Any questions or comments from the board? We did spend a fair amount of time in the past year updating this. Any comments from the public? Is there a motion to approve?
Move.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? No. Thank you, Benson. Craig Alford will present an admin item relating to River Cross Residential Project on Roosevelt Island. Craig.
Thank you, Howard. ESD holds a long-term ground lease with the City of New York for the property known as Roosevelt Island. It executed a number of subleases with housing projects, including one called River Cross, which is currently owned by the River Cross Tenants Corporation. In the 1980s, ESD assigned its interest in the ground lease and all of the subleases to the Roosevelt Island Operating Corporation. But to ensure that ESD would be reimbursed for its early capital contributions and operating deficits on the island, ESD continues to collect tax equivalency payments from a number of properties, including River Cross. River Cross was initially part of the Mitchell-Lama Affordable Housing Program, but exited the plan in 2014 without an affordability plan, meaning that its units converted to market rate. River Cross now wishes to convert certain qualified units back to affordable units. REAC and ESD, REAC being the Roosevelt Island Operating Corporation, have worked with River Cross to reach a settlement agreement to allow this to happen, whereby qualified shareholders in the building will be able to apply for deferred future maintenance. River Cross will be entitled to a corresponding deferral of ground rent payable to REAC pursuant to their sublease. And ESD will consent to a reduction of tax tax equivalency payments to 80% of its current level, the tax payments will rise 10% every 5 years through the end of the 99-year ground lease in 2068.
Okay.
Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from the directors to Craig on this Roosevelt Island project? Any comments from the public on this? Is there a motion to approve?
Move.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you, Craig. Tom Condescenni is back up and has an item related to architectural services at Belmont.
Thank you. The directors are being asked to approve a 2-year, $60,000 contract with Lyro Engineers, Inc. to provide on-call architectural and design services to Empire State Development in connection with the Belmont Park redevelopment project. Specific services include the review of design construction documents, assisting ESD in the development of design guidelines for the project, attending meetings and presentations as required, and participating in other design-related tasks on the project. Funding for these services will be paid out of the IMPREST account funded by the conditionally designated developer for the Belmont project. Lyro was selected through a competitive solicitation to architecture and engineering firms on our pre-qualified list of planning and real estate consultants approved by the board last year, and details of the process and selection criteria are listed in the materials. Thank you and for your time, and I'm available to answer any questions.
Okay, any questions or comments from directors on this Belmont item? Comments from the public on this? Is there a motion to approve?
Move.
Thank you. Second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you, Tom. We have Julene will present 3 contract items relating to the Bronx Psychiatric Center project. Julene.
Thank you and good morning. The directors are requested to authorize the amendment of 2 legal services contracts and 1 environmental consulting contract in connection with the Bronx Psychiatric Center redevelopment project that involves the disposition and redevelopment of portions of the Bronx Psychiatric Center. These contract amendments are needed to extend the contract terms and amounts to cover the cost for additional work items required to complete the project. In September 2014, the directors authorized the retention of Bryant Rubino LLP to advise ESD in real estate and other related legal matters in connection with the project. If approved, the contract term would expire in September 2020.
Sorry, there's some people talking on the phone. Can you just mute your phone or cease talking? Where is it?
Hey, Mike, you're on. Mike, you're
Mike?
not on mute.
Mike? What do you say?
Hey, Mike, you're not on mute.
Apparently so. Sorry about that.
Thank you. If approved, the contract term would expire in September 2020, and the total contract value would be $500,000. In March 2015, the directors authorized the retention of Cy, Patchett, and Rizel, PC, to advise ESD on environmental legal compliance, including assisting in the preparation and review of the environmental impact statement in connection with the project. If approved, the contract term would expire in September 2020, and the total contract value would also be $500,000. In March 2015, the directors authorized entering into a contract with AKRF to prepare an environmental impact statement in compliance with the State Environmental Quality Review Act. Staff recommends a 2-year extension of the contract and an amendment in the amount of $830,000, including contingency, bringing the total contract amount to $2,080,000. All of these contracts will continue to be funded in their entirety from the IMPREST account funded by the designated developer. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Great. Any questions for Julene on these items related to Bronx Psychiatric Project? Any comments from the public on this? Is there a motion to approve all of them? Second?
Seconded.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you, Julene. Next up, Edward Espejo will present 2 contract amendment items related to PeopleSoft system. Edward.
Thank you, Howard. Good morning. We are seeking the board's approval to retain Chair Road Technologies and Oracle software license and support services for fiscal year 2019 for our PeopleSoft system software upgrade from version 8.4 to 9.2. PeopleSoft is an industry-leading financial system developed by Oracle and used by many state agencies and private sector firms to record and manage financial transactions and contracts. The first phase of the upgrade is expected to go live in July 2018. Phase 1 includes the transition from PeopleSoft 8.4 to 9.2, as well as several key updates, including the new a new online contract workflow process to streamline procurement and amendment approvals, and the Treasury Financial Gateway module to transmit daily bank data files and streamline payments. Phase 2 will provide the following new features: PeopleSoft Financial System, data records update, automation of accounts payable processes, automation of contract requisition processes, expansion of procurement card program, and update PeopleSoft security system and administration. Chair Road FY 2019 costs are expected not to exceed $1.1 million, which includes an 18% contingency for additional expenses. Oracle software license and support services include the maintenance of over 10 PeopleSoft 9.2 modules, as well as ongoing security patches and related support. Costs are expected not to exceed $133,000 over a 3-year term. The total PeopleSoft upgrade costs for Chair Road and Oracle are expected not to exceed $1.25 million. Today, we are asking approval for the Chair Road and Oracle costs. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Edward. Any questions or comments from directors on this PeopleSoft project? Any comments from the public? Wouldn't that be something on this PeopleSoft project? Is there a motion to approve?
I move it.
Thank you. Second. All in favor? Thank you, Edward. Okay, we are getting down there. Christopher Ortiz will present 3 contract amendment items related to the new New York broadband program. Chris.
Good morning. The directors are requested to approve the amendment and extension of 3 consultant contracts. These vendors support the new New York broadband program. The vendors are Tilson Technology Management, Michael Baker Engineering, and CostQuest Associates, and they respectively provide technical, cost modeling, geospatial mapping, and data analysis services to the Broadband Program Office in support of the program. These vendors were all previously retained with the authorization of this board. Just to give you a brief update on the program, Jeff Nordhaus, our EVP, will be here next month to provide a fuller update, but just in brief, earlier this year, the governor announced round 3 of the new New York broadband program, which will fund an additional $225 million in state grants for broadband deployment across the state. These state grants will drive an estimated $385 million in total funding, inclusive of additional private and federal investment in broadband deployment to serve an estimated 129,000 locations across the 8 upstate REDC regions. And when these round 3 projects are fully implemented, along with commitments previously announced as part of the program, including prior rounds, we estimate that 99.9% of households across the state will have access to broadband. 99.9% of locations across the state. And the first wave of these projects will be presented to the board for approval next month. But just today, to focus on the amendments at issue, we are seeking to amend CostQuest's contract to increase the not to exceed from $986,000 to $1.5 million, Tilson's from $1.5 million to $1.8 million, and Michael Baker's from $316,000 to $354,000. And these are to resolve final costs associated with the review of applications to Phase 3 of the program, and also to use the vendors on an ad hoc basis moving forward to develop deliverables necessary to implement the grant-funded projects. The amendments would extend the contract terms through February 2020. And I'm happy to take any questions.
Any questions?
Does Chris lose his job once we get to 100%?
Sorry, Chris. No, Chris will be busy because we have a lot of implementation and other things to do here at ESD to make sure we get to 99.95%. Those, the few people who aren't on the program are going to show up on the Survivor Series show. Okay. Thanks, Chris. Any questions or comments, additional questions or comments for Chris? Any comments from the public on this? Is there a motion to approve?
No.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thanks, Christopher. Laura Rogers has the final voting item, which relates to the New York State Welcome Center in Orange County. Laura.
The directors are asked to approve the fundamental terms of a lease between ESD and Premium Outlet Partners LP for space located in the Woodbury Common Premium Outlets area for use as a New York State Welcome Center. In 2016, Governor Cuomo announced new welcome centers promoting New York State tourism attractions and offering Taste New York products and, when possible, food in an engaging and informative way. Located directly off of I-87 in Central Valley, New York and Orange County, Woodbury attracts over 13 million visitors per year, making it one of the top tourist destinations in New York. For that reason, Woodbury Common Premium Outlet was selected as the preferred location for the Welcome Center covering the Hudson Valley and Catskills area. The Welcome Center will consist of approximately 2,100 square feet located in the Market Hall, a central hub building that connects each region of the mall. Cornell Cooperative Extension of Sullivan County will operate the Welcome Center under a contract with the Department of Agriculture and Markets. CCE, Cornell Cooperative, will also act as a co-lessee with ESD at Woodbury. As a co-lessee, CCE will indemnify ESD and carry appropriate levels of insurance for its operation of the space. CCE will also be responsible for maintaining the property pursuant to lease terms and paying monthly utility and related fees. The directors are asked to approve the fundamental terms of the lease, which consist of a term of up to 5 years, subject at all times to the availability of appropriated funds by the New York State Legislature. An appropriation has been made for the first year of operations of the Welcome Center. ESD will not pay rent, but it will be expected to participate in a common maintenance charge that goes towards upkeeping the facility of Woodbury, and will consist of approximately $100,000 each year, with a 5% escalation at every lease year. So we're asked for the approval of the fundamental terms that we've just provided and are also outlined in the materials, and authorization to negotiate the final terms and enter into the lease and take related actions.
Okay, thanks, Laura. Any questions or comments from directors on this Welcome Center item? Any comments from the public on this item? Is there a motion to approve? Thank you, Cesar. Is there a second? Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you, Laura. The remaining items on the agenda are for information purposes. There are no votes. Is there a motion to adjourn the meeting? All right. Well, thank you all for coming and for participating in this wide-ranging board meeting.
Wow.